Hello and welcome to Sensei podcast. This is Manos Brilakis discussing with leaders in the field of CTO and complex PCI. Sensei means teacher or master in Japanese. The goal of the Sensei podcast is to help you learn and improve in CTO and complex PCI so that you can become the best that you can be and offer your patients the best possible results. Hello and welcome to Sensei Podcast. It is my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Alexandre Avran, who is one of the fathers of CTO intervention in Europe and around the world and is running the ML-CTO meeting as well. So Alexandre, welcome this morning at the webinar, and thanks so much for sharing your insights on learning CTO and complex PCI.
Thank you, Manos. Thank you to everyone. It's really a great pleasure to be with you in this Sensei podcast. It's an honor.
No, the honor is ours. And maybe we can start it about your trip. You know, I think you're doing the most or one of the most interventions in the world right now in terms of CTO, and you've really brought the field to mature quite through a lot of learning. But when you started, how did this come to you? Was it something you always wanted to do? How did you become interested and involved in CTO PCI?
It's a very interesting question. In fact, I was always very excited about closed arteries and viability in the territory and how to find a way to open this artery. But in fact, the first CTO case I did was some hazard. It was a VIP guy in my center, and no one wanted to touch it because of the risk of doing a CTO it was around 2002, 2003. So the CTO PCI technique was not so evolved than now, and so my colleague was a little bit afraid because it's a very important person. So they said, "Okay, go, Alexander, you have to do it." So at this time, the guide wire were the very old guide. Yes. But finally, I remember that it was a LED CTO, and my wire, it was a cross-it at that time, cross-it, and the wire penetrate suddenly, and I just hear from my back, what happened? Because everyone thought that I made a perforation, and finally, I was lucky to open the artery like this, and it was a start for me. And then I said, okay, I really like this feeling, and try to open this artery and make the people feeling better after.
And then, how did you learn? Was it by doing cases? Did you have any people that helped you learn the process?
Yeah. So it was like a mixed, because at that time in France, the only center who were already doing CTO PCI were Massy with Thierry Lefebvre and Yves Louvard. So I went 3-4 times in their center, but it was also very difficult to learn because you just watch outside the cath lab and try to keep some tips and tricks, and then when you come back to your lab, you try to do it. And then also they were also meeting, like the CTO meeting, Euro CTO Club. It was the very first start of this meeting, and every time okay, I need the dual injection, so I will try in my lab. Oh, I need a microcatheter, so I will try in my lab. Oh, there is a new guide wire, I will try in my lab. And so it was like this.
And then, did there any people come over to help you set up the process? Did you have any people come at Proctor early on, or at the time this was not happening like it is now? I know you Proctor now pretty much everyone, but how anyone Proctor you at the time?
No, no, it was not so current at this time to have some proctor coming in your lab. I was proctor for ADR by Colm Amrati. So I remember that he came many years ago in my lab, and we did some cases together. But it was for this specific strategy, and but from the beginning, no, I think it was not in the use of. We don't know finally the name of Proctor. It came after.
Sure. Now, to switch gears, I know that actually you have been in many labs in Greece, in pretty much every country in Europe right now. So actually you've taught thousands of people how to do this. When you walk into a cath lab, can you tell based on the people that you see if they're going to be good at doing this, or if they have a talent, or it doesn't really matter and it's a matter of time if they're going to learn it?
No. It's a very good question. You know, as you said, I'm doing a lot of proctorship, and when I start with someone I never worked with in France and in Europe, it's not like US where you are not allowed to scrub with your colleague. In France, there is no problem. So it's easier for us to just see what the colleague is doing and just give him some tips and tricks. Sometimes just show him how to manipulate the wire. So when I start like this, I always scrub with my colleague, and then I can see if there is some skills, natural skills, how to manipulate the wire, how to feel the wire, and also the safety. It's important that the proctor is not anxious or nervous, and also that he listen to your advice, because some, unfortunately, I know some, but very few. So it is a good point. But some, you can tell them some tips, some learning point, but they don't hear you, and they are still doing what they think that the best it is. And the point is, because they can't hear to you, they can't learn. But fortunately, it's very, very few people. And then when I start to know the guys, it's not the first time, the second time, I will stay in the room behind and let the colleague doing the case by himself. And then like this. So it's just a step-by-step learning point.
Perfect. And I think in that way you have the advantage, because in the US we cannot actually scrub in. So when we go proctor people, we cannot touch the patient, which makes it much harder sometimes to communicate some of the things that you mentioned. Now, when it comes to your learning trip, where do you think were your landmarks, like the turning points in your learning curve? When the retrograde came, were some specific cases? What was the turning points for you to become as skilled as you've become in the field?
I think it's not the strategy, because I already did some retro, some ADR, but it's only the number of cases. I remember that when I start to do a lot of proctoring, then the number of my cases get higher and higher. And then I feel that I just reach one more step. For me, I think it's really the number of cases that you are doing successfully. Also, because if you are doing 100 or 200 cases, but you failed in 20%, it's not good. It means that the cases that you are doing is maybe too complex, too difficult for your actual level. So that was the first point. The second point also, I remember that a few years ago, I made around 350, 400 cases per year. And I have to do more complex cases because it's retry, it's always more complicated. And I remember that my complication rates also increase. And it was the second step where I said, okay, now I really need to focus on the safety and not try to do something very dangerous or complex only because I want to do it. So, and then my complication rates decrease again, and my success rate stay also high. So it was the second step for me when I feel some evolution in my skills.
Perfect. And then when you have all these cases you've done, are there some cases that you remember that have stuck with you, that have taught you a lot, that you would like to share, good or bad ones for that matter?
Yeah, sure. So I have great cases. I remember, I think it was RCA, ostial RCA CTO, very complex and calcified, and it was a flash ostial, so we can see anything from the right injection, and also from the orthography, we can see nothing. So we went retro, and then the curse of the guide wire was very, very strange, because it was like there is no ostium, RCA ostium, and so I get with I remember it was at that time Pilot 200 in knuckle, because I really don't know where I am. But I was in the structure of the artery because I did some tip injection very slowly from the microcatheter. So I'm sure that I'm in, but my anatomy is very, very strange. And my knuckle went straight around the left coronary. So at that time I say, okay, we need to stop. And maybe we need, in that case, have some help about CT scan to understand something, because there is anomaly, anatomical. So we did the CT scan, and the CT scan shows us that the right coronary is not, the birth was not in the ostial part. It was near the left coronary. And so we get back and we understood everything, and then we finished the case. So what I learned in that, it's not bad to not to succeed in the first time. You need to be safe and to understand why you are not succeeding, and find something, like it was a CT scan for that case, to understand why you haven't succeeded in that time, and then you can go back and get to the success.
Yeah, great point. And I think we've all learned this lesson right now, and that's where the investment comes in. Sometimes when you're having a very hard time, it's best to just fail, but be safe, and then come back at a later time, exactly as you said.
Absolutely. And I think for my worst case, I present the case during MLCTO. It was a retrograde case, a very calcified case. It was also a right coronary occlusion. And we went through septal, coming through some LED strut, LED stent. And everything went well. And we were able to place the stent in the right coronary. It was difficult because it was a long occlusion, very calcified. And when we tried to retrieve the RG3, it was impossible. So the RG3 was jailed in the strut of the LED stent through the septal. And I remember that I tried my best to pull back the RG3, but it was impossible. And I remember the picture of me is to just feel and see the earth going smaller and smaller because you just pull back on the RG3. And it was, we try our best, and it was impossible. So we just have to send the patient with the RG3 to the surgeon. And he was able to cut the RG3 from the left ostium and from the right ostium, but it was impossible for him also with some surgical tools to remove the RG3. It was jailed in the calcified part in the strut. But finally, the patient went well, but it just stay in my memory as a very bad memory. That feeling that you just finish the case, but you can remove the externalization wire, and you are like
helpless,
speechless, because you can't do anything.
Wow. Oh, no. Thanks for sharing. And again, these are the tough cases, and I think all of us can to learn. And obviously, that must be very frustrating to have succeeded in opening the CTO and then in the last step have to go through all this. But again, that's part of the game. Now, in terms of the learning, I know that you've done many cases, proctored many cases, and you've started your amazing meeting that's becoming one of the best in the world on this MLCTO. How does this all fit together? You're learning through the cases, through the proctoring, through the meeting. How does this all match together? How has that been for you in terms of a learning experience for people who want to learn?
I think now it's easier to learn CTO PCI. You have everything. You have your the web also. Internet, all of that. So the podcast, the cases you can send. You can share also some cases and maybe ask for some help. You can have you can receive some proctor to your lab, but you can also get in some cath lab, famous cath lab. So just learn how everything is working, the paramedics part, the cardiologist part, everything. And you have also a lot of meeting now, great meetings. You have the CTO Summit in New York. You have the MLCTO, you have EuroCTO, you have Japanese meeting. So I think that actually you have a lot of different way to learn, but I think that the best way is to do cases. It's still the best way, and the number of cases you can perform each year is very important. And what I say to my colleague, try to do every cases you can. Just fulfill some database, understand why you failed in that, which situation you are not able to finalize the case. It may be because it's a retrograde technique and you are not so sure with the strategy. And then after, just collect the case you failed and do it with some proctor. And then you will understand more clearly what actually is missing for you in your skills or something. And then you will learn also the step that make you failed the previous case. And I think it's the way to do it.
So don't forget about the failed cases. Actually use them to your advantage and learn from them and do them again and make the most of them. Absolutely. Now, I know that you said the field has evolved a lot. Do you feel that you've stopped learning, that you've actually done, learned enough, and or do you still feel that there is things to learn?
Yeah, I think that the beauty of the CTO PCI field. That I really think that I learn in every case. Okay, so the feeling actually presently is different because with my experience, I know what will occur in the case. I know that this part might be the difficult part. This part might be the easiest part. And this wire will not cross. But you have to so the experience make maybe the things easier to see, but you learn every time because there is always something new will happen, something you don't think about before, and there is always new devices also. There is always new techniques, and I think that if I lose my the point where I'm getting to get boring doing CTO, I will stop. But it's very difficult to get bored with CTO. Finally, that's why I really like it.
Absolutely, one of the most variable. And as you said, you do have a lot of experience, which helps also with the stress. But do you get nervous about the case? Do you get anxious? Or at this point, given how much you've done, it's fairly relaxed?
No, I'm not anxious. I'm not depressed or something. When I before starting a case, that's what I say to the young guys. You have to be sure that you will succeed. You can't start a case telling yourself, I'm 50% case to succeed or to fail. No. You have to be sure that you will succeed. So it's maybe some hypnotic auto-stimulation, but no. If I think that I can't do the case or I'm less than 30% to succeed, I will not do the case. And I explain why. Because we can't see the distal part, there is no collateral, there is an epicardial is too dangerous, ADR is impossible. So I explain why. But when I start a case, I know that I will try my best to succeed with safety. So that's why I'm not nervous. I'm not anxious about the case. And if I fail, I try, as you said, to do the best as an investment procedure to make the second attempt easier. So, but you can't. I understand something that I am able to have this mental evaluation because I have a lot of experience. But if you are a young CTO operator, if you don't succeed a case, I think you can be sad or doing some maybe something bad because you really want to succeed. And you don't think about the investment procedure. So that's it. That's why also proctoring is very important, because when you are proctoring a case and you failed, the colleague is a little bit reassured because they say, oh, he is able to fail a case. And you just explain, yes, but there is no complication. We just move the cap. We make maybe the second attempt easier, and you will try in 8 weeks, and you will see. And that's the way to learn also.
Perfect. And then, Alexandre, again, how do you keep able to do so many cases and keep your sense of humor and your skills up? I mean, what do you do? Do you exercise? Do you read? How do you keep your body and your mind in good shape?
Yeah, I exercise. I try to do exercise as much as I can. So yeah, I run, I swim. And I'm doing a lot. I'm doing diving also. So diving is very good for. It's like yoga, but under the water. So it's good also. But no, I think I really like what I'm doing. So that's why I'm happy. If I was sad, I stop. And so, and also the point is, if you are doing 3 cases per day and it's 3 success cases, it's like winning a soccer game. It's easier to recover after a win than after a lose, so a loss. So it's the same for CTO. I think if you are doing 3 cases and it was 3 failure, I think I'm so sad for 1 week or 2 weeks. Trying to understand what happened. It's impossible. So it's the same. It's like a circle.
Perfect. And then how about a favorite book? Do you have a favorite book or a favorite movie that you like?
Favorite book? Favorite book. My first really great book was Lords of the Ring. So it was also one of my now favorite movies movies I like. I don't know if you know in the US, but it was Le Grand Bleu, the Big Blue. I don't know. It's the same. So it's also from apnea, from diving. So with great music. I was also like a fan of Sergio Leone. So Once Upon a Time in America, Once Upon a Time in the West. So it's the kind of movie that I really like to see again and again.
Perfect. So quest of adventure and winning against odds. So fits very well with the CTO theme. What are you most proud of the things you've done professionally and non-professionally?
So I'm proud of my journey, I will say, because I start very early. It was not easy to be part of the CTO world. I remember that I tried my best to join the Euro CTO club because in Europe it was the only way to be involved in some CTO part. And it was very, very hard because they just asked for 300 cases, two godfather. It was very, very complex to get to pass through these all steps. And I finally succeed, and then I just try to do something new. In France, the only way to learn was to get in some cat lab. And when I start, I said I will do something totally different. I will go to the cat lab of the patient, of the colleague, work with his paramedics, with his cat lab, with his patient, and I want that the guys was in the first operator and me in second. So it was totally new in France, doing like that. And that's why I think the French CT operator increase in number, because now everyone in France, every cat lab has a CTO program, more or less. And finally, also the ML CTO, also I'm very proud of that, because we start, we don't know what how to succeed, but we really want to do something new, something very interactive. And I thank you also for that, because you're one of the board member of the ML, and you're always here every year. And the way you're teaching and the way you just explain in a lecture or something was the way I really like. And that's also one point I'm very proud of.
Yeah, you should be. Again, I think ML-CTO actually has set a standard for training in CTO because it makes it very practical and interactive. I think there is more discussion in ML-CTO than any other meeting I know in terms of the interaction between the panels, but also the audience. I think that's what makes it, as you said, doing is what makes you learn. And the more you do, the more you ask questions and get involved, the more you learn. Yeah. And that's exactly what ML-CTO. And again, congratulations again. And actually, I'm again personally excited and honored to be part of this. So thank you so much for that. So you've done a lot, but what is the next step for you? What is the next frontier?
I tried something new. I tried to launch ML CTO Academy. So we tried to make some study, retrospective study first about some niche. So, for example, the two first study we launched in the website is the outcome of cover stent placed during CTO PCI, because I was always here that okay, you place a cover stent, but it will close in few weeks. And finally, when I control my patient, I can see that the result is still good. So we launched this study, and also the second one we will launch in few days is the outcome of ostial RCA CTO, because finally it's the case where I have more restenosis, and I want to understand why. So when I discuss with some great operators, they said, okay, someone can place a BMS, then someone can place two DES, and there is a lot of technique, because we know that the compression of the ostium is very, very important. So my next step is really to try to have a lot. Everyone can register in ML-CTO Academy. It's free, and the purpose is to have the most cases as possible in this some very small niche about CTO, and everyone can participate and have some new idea about new study. So this is the first. And then the next frontier, I don't know. I don't know.
Do you ever plan to quit? Do you have any thoughts about retiring and taking it easy, or don't see yourself doing it anytime soon?
No, but so quitting CTO is, I think, when I will boring doing CTO, I will stop, because I think if you can't be in front of a CTO, and if you say, well, I don't like this anymore, you will not succeed. So for retirement, I'm still young, sorry. but no, I think that I worked very hard, so I deserve the retirement when the time will be. But no, I have still, I think, 15 years still to go. But yeah, but I'm ready. Huh?
Well, I think you have a lot of enthusiasm, right? A lot of enthusiasm and energy. So again, I don't see you hanging up your gloves anytime soon. So, which is good for the patients and for the people doing this, because you said experience is something hard to develop.
But one point I like very much, as you said from the start. Now I'm going in different countries to learn a CTO, and not only in rich countries. So this is also a challenge. Because you have very poor country with a lot of CTO cases, and there is a lack of devices, a lack of skills, and I try my best to make them learn also the device, the strategy, and we try together to manage the patient as we can with the device we have in the lab in this country. So it's also one of my challenge in next year.
Perfect. And actually, I think for the osteal CTO you mentioned before, the osteal RCA CTO, I think for the people on the podcast, I mean, Dr. Avran has done one of the best algorithms of how to approach them in the first place. So I guess it makes complete sense to now go through around the circle. So now you've opened them up first, but then you're going to see what makes them stay open or not. So again, I love this continuity and making everything go around. So Alexandre, again, this was phenomenal. I really appreciate all your insights about learning. Maybe in the last minute, if you have any final suggestions for someone who is young and wants to learn CTO or complex PCI, what would you advise them to do in 2023?
I think it's to be close to someone, to an expert. Try to be a fellow in some lab where CTO program is working well, and also try to. It's like magician, the skills, the feeling you have of your guide wire with your fingers are very important. And so I know that some young guys in France, I know it after, but they record some video of me working with my hand moving the wire, and this one moving the torquer, and they try to do the same at home. And then they came back to me and say, I succeeded. So it's like this. You need a mentor. I think it's very important, but I think also that you need more than one mentor, because there is a different way to learn CTO and to different strategy. And if you have only one view, you will not be so good as if you can see different way of working in different country. Japanese guys is not working like US guys or European guys. So it's good to see everyone.
Wonderful. Again, thanks so much, Alexandre. Tremendous insights, and thanks for everything you've done, and congrats on the upcoming next MLCTO.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Sensei podcast.